Okay, good afternoon, YouTube. Welcome back once again to Phat Kat Collections. Got almost sort of a new one today, and I got a Casio for you guys. Now, I can't remember what do I got, like 2,000 videos on this channel. I don't remember if I've ever done like an old school Casio review. And the one we're going to talk about today is not old school. It is one of the newer releases by Casio. And this is their newest, I believe it's their newest version, G-Shock. So I'm just going to give you guys a little teaser right quick, and then we'll kind of come back to this. So, like with any product I review, especially when it comes to watches, I'm doing two styles now. Up close and personal and the standard format, which is what you see now. A lot of folks follow me on this channel just because they've been doing so for so long. So some folks like to see me, other folks just want to see the product, and so I'm producing two videos for each one of the cool watches I review. Because I don't want somebody to watch the video and just decide to click off and not actually give these cool watches a chance because you may not like my format. So if you just want to watch, again, I'll put the link in the description for the up close and personal video. And then if you find the up close and personal video based on the YouTube algorithm and want to see standard format, we have this one as well. So with this one, we're going to see more wrist shots, right? That's pretty much the gist. So today, again, this is Casio's newest. It's a GAVO1-9A. They call it Cool Eyes, and I'll explain why they do. We'll talk about the different color options. What do I think about the watch? Where this watch came from? And I don't know. We'll just kind of like I always do, kind of wing it. As far as like Casio watches, I think they're fantastic. They are iconic watches. I think the Casio brand is one of those brands that really like everybody likes. There's a Casio for everyone. Whereas like other brands like Invicta, for instance, like it's very polarized. You either hate it or love it. But I don't really think anybody. I mean, I'm over generalizing here. I don't really know, but I don't think anybody really, like, when you say, hey, what do you think of Casio watches? I think you'll get, I love them. I don't really think about them. They're okay. I've had one. You know, G-Shock's tough, but it's an interesting brand. And I remember being a kid. My first Casio was the Twin Graph. And in the 80s, I remember a lot of these cool watches kind of coming out where they were very high tech. And the 80s was a time of like high tech, right? At least that's the way I remember. Even though now like we have way more tech now, I don't know. It just seems like there was a real shift in this kind of cool 80s technology, right? With hi-fi, and I don't know. I just have fond memories of like walking through like a Topps appliance electronics back in the day, and I've always been into like the tech stuff, not really so much watches, but I've always had a watch as a kid. The only watch I have that I can't find is this one that's actually a radio, and it's meant to look like an 80s boombox, and you can actually listen to radio by plugging in a headset. I don't know where it went. I typically have all the toys I've ever had from back in that time frame, or most of them. But anyway, so let's get to this watch. Now, my first Casio I had was the Casio Twin Graph. I still have it, but it is completely like the rubber has gone. So when folks say to me, oh, that watch isn't going to last, or this brand will last, you really don't know what is going to happen to any watch, right? I always feel like when you go with stainless steel, for the most part, and of course there's gold and stuff, but for the most part, in affordable options, stainless steel is always going to last, right? Unless it's subjected to an area where, like, if you live next to, let's say, the salt water, and you get a lot of breeze and a lot of, the air is very has a higher salinity, then yeah, you might get more surface rust. I know certain cars, if you live next to like the coast and they spent their life on the coast, you'll notice like under the hood there's more corrosion on like the aluminum parts, like the head and the block in some cases, than if you live somewhere very dry away from the coast. So again, I always like to, I just kind of mention that because nothing really lasts forever. And some people will say, oh, Casio will last you forever. It's super indestructible. I don't know, if they've made improvements on the rubber, but I'll tell you that, the Casio Twin Graph I had, and of course, the G-Shock that my dad gave me that he had back in the day, again, they lasted over 20 years. But, they have dry rotted, right? The material has completely fallen off. So, which I find interesting because I have seen Casio Twin Graphs on eBay, vintage, mint condition for like over $1,000. So I don't know how maybe they've armored all those bad boys up over the years, but mine sure as hell didn't last. But this one here, so let's talk about this watch. This was gifted to me for Christmas, early Christmas gift by one of my subscribers, and I think he's probably the, I don't toss the word friendship around because friendships, it's hard to have you can't really have a friendship online, right? You have to kind of interact like in a real world setting. But I think, James, Mr. Perez, he's often gifted me gifts over the years, and it's super generous, and it's a reminder to me that there are some very generous people in this world, and people who honestly are a lot more generous than me, and I'd say, kinder than me, and so it does warm my heart, to know somebody cares enough out there just from watching my content that wants to do that. And remember, this content is free. Nobody is, I'm not looking for anything from anybody, but it's pretty awesome. So again, thank you, James. I have gifted James a watch, I believe, once as well. Usually when people are nice to me, I tend to be nice to them, give and take kind of thing. But anyway, putting that aside, it does, I guess I mentioned that because like I would never have gifted a watch to somebody, but having somebody like pay it forward to me made me want to do that, right? For him at least. So anyway, a very awesome gift, very cool. And what's really interesting is I never really know what I'm gonna get from James, and so I shouldn't say that. Last year I got like a cigar gift card, right? And I got a cool humidor with it, and I've been kind of dabbling with tobacco, on a very light scale, a cigar once in a while, smoke a pipe here and there, but not like where it's actually like a daily habit, right? But this one I had no idea what was coming, and what's interesting is when I opened up the box, I couldn't believe it, because I actually I know you guys who follow the watch content know that there is a lot of like replicas, fakes, and there are homage watches, and there is a homage on my AliExpress list that has this one in yellow and then in the hot pink. And I am going to get it. It's like $40. It's on a Casio. It doesn't say G-Shock, doesn't say Casio, but it has like that bright look. And I'll tell you, this one has been like kind of on my list, and I've been very intrigued by this watch. And I couldn't believe when I opened the box and saw it. I was like, how the fuck did he know to get me this? And he bought himself one, I guess, and then thought I'd like it, and he was right. So let's check it out. So really interesting watch. Now this is a very polarized Casio. Some folks think this is the ugliest piece of dog shit ever. I've heard people some guys I even like to watch is like, with their finger in their mouth puking like garbage, disgusting. I don't know why people have to do that. Like if you don't like something, you just, there's a lot of cool stuff out there, a lot of different variation. You don't have to, just because one person doesn't like something doesn't mean like they're the style guru, right? And I know, yes, there is freedom of speech, and for now anyway, but, I don't know. I do believe in just like not being rude. And I think that, if you don't like this watch, there's nothing wrong with not liking it, saying it's not for me, but to just like try to like insult it, I think is just really kind of a bitch move. But I think it's awesome. I've always appreciated watches that are different and very unique, and I think this one definitely checks the box. I love the bright orange color. They do make it in a purple, the black, this color, and then like the silver. And I have to tell you, like the silver is pretty intriguing as well. I wish they made it in like even the pink or the neon orange. You have to, if you want the hot pink, you gotta get the basically the knockoff or the homage version. But I think this is super cool. And Casio, I like that they did something just really outside the box. It gets away from their traditional G-Shock. It just shows that the company's trying to, change the times now and just create something different, And I think when I think about a G-Shock, if you have one, why would you want to get another one, right? If you're just going to go with another black one. So I think this is for the people who maybe collect Casio and, have a G-Shock already and maybe several different versions. This is something that makes you just want to say, dude, that thing's so unique and loud. I want to add it to my collection, right? So that's the way I look at it. So I'm going to read you what they state about it. Electric yellow in a timepiece that embodies venture spirit, yellow G-Shock, cool eyes. And the reason they call it cool eyes is because I guess these kind of the display here, it makes it look like alien eyes, I guess. So it's been kind of labeled cool eyes, kind of like Rolex, they have their Pepsi or, their different, slang names based on the color. This is called the cool eyes. I would have called it alien eyes, honestly, but cool eyes, whatever, whatever. It says here it's modeled after the famous rubber ball prototype that led to the first G-Shock in 1983. So I guess there's a story behind that. I didn't really dig into that. It is a very aggressive look, as they mentioned. It has these spiky kind of contoured edges right over the crystal. And what's interesting about this is that they're not attached, right? So you can, this is kind of a little bit of a gripe I have with this, is that because there is flexibility, like this is going to give you shock resistance, but I could almost see like catching that on something and spring it up, and you know, maybe you wouldn't necessarily like break it off, but you could peel that if you hit it hard enough and distort it where it might be sticking up, and you wouldn't really be able to bend it back down. So kind of weird that they did that, but it is very, you know, as far as like impact and protecting the crystal, it definitely is going to do its job. Like you could drop this straight down, and it's got that element of shock absorption. And it says here, I'm not going to read you every, you know, word for word here, because it's kind of like a sales pitch kind of, you know, they all do this, you know, they'll just kind of be like, oh, this is, you know, they put a lot of words in there that are subjective, like embracing individuality and, you know, it attracts attention. Well, that depends, right? But it is a very unique design, and it says here the face is framed in a butterfly-shaped open dial, giving to a full LCD. Now, there is an LCD here, and what's kind of interesting about this is when you cycle through the modes, this will tell you on this dial here what mode you're in. So whether it's alarm, stopwatch, track, I don't know what the TR is. And then, of course, you have the time on this side. So the other cool thing about it is that the light is pretty bright. Now, they say it's a dual light. I believe they mean dual bulb. They make it sound like there's two lights in here, two LEDs. I think there's just two LEDs on the actual light itself. Kind of a negative I'd say about this watch is very difficult to read. Like, even in the daylight here, you cannot really make out the digital time on it. You almost have to use the light, even in a bright room like this, to even make out the time if you're going to use the digital time. And you have to kind of hit it at the right angle. I have to tell you, as much as I think the watch is very cool, and I'm super like appreciative to get it, it's surprising that Casio came out with a watch this hard to read. Now, of course, you do have your analog display, and that's fantastic. That's very easy to read. You have some really large orange hands. I love the orange and green. It's very like road worker, like utility-ish. But again, the digital portion of it, super difficult to read. They'll show it on their, like when you look at it on their website, it makes it look like you can see this plain as day. But mine, I mean, the only thing I would have to say is like, is the battery going in this or something? Because it doesn't look anything like that. I almost want to like even ask Casio. But then if you were to like, when you click the link in the description and you'll look at the picture here where it shows this on the wrist, what I'm seeing is more realistic of what you're going to see on this watch. So if you actually go to their site, and again, I'll put the link to their website where you pick this up on Amazon. If it's the same pictures on our Amazon, I'll link you there. But their main primary picture just shows this as being a very bright white LED display. But when you see it on the guy's wrist in looks like two different photos, you can't make out the time at all. It's almost like false, like I don't want to say advertising, but it doesn't really represent exactly what the digital portion of this is going to look like. It's very difficult to read, and you know, it's probably honestly easier to read at night in a complete dark room by hitting the light. And that's the only way I think you're going to really be able to use this, right? Even like, you know, I'll put it next to the window. You can kind of tilt it the right way and make it out, but it's definitely, and you can probably see just in the video, I should probably just show you the watch and shut up, but you can see, like, you can't even make that out. And that's not my camera doing that, although it is a little bit worse. Like I'm looking at the screen right now. It is a little bit worse, but it's not very legible at all. And so when I hit the light, you can start to see it. So like when I hit that light on camera, that's kind of what it looks like. You know, the crystal definitely, depending on how you look at this, if you're getting any kind of reflection, like good luck seeing this. In a bright sunny day, I don't think you're gonna be able to read this. But let's talk about the pros. So it definitely gives you, you know, a very unique design, very innovative. The entire case is, you know, it's all one piece right into the strap. They must take, it's almost like a case and cradle, where they probably take this case and band and strap and kind of smush the movement, the actual watch inside it. And then there's a couple, like, I think these are almost like case tabs, or I'm going to call them case tabs, but it looks like another portion here where maybe that clips in somehow. Maybe it's screwed in. There's some screws on the side that actually hold the actual watch itself in this cradle, so to speak. All right, so I know I'm throwing a lot at you, but so they say here that they talk about the Enthusiast. We're not going to go over that. Has 200 meters of water resistance. It has the integration of the band and bezel, which is what I was trying to articulate. That puts toughness front and center. Organized features such as the 5 daily alarms. Great, but good luck. I mean, it's not the easiest thing to navigate, you know. Like, yeah, it has 5 alarms if you can actually make it out and set these. Manual sucks. The manual's like generic manual. It's for multiple watches as far as I can tell. So, you know, it's not, I'm surprised Casio didn't come with a specific manual for this watch. At least that's not what I got. What else do we get here? So you can keep track of your meetings. It says world timer, give you 31 time zones. Again, I don't think it's the easiest thing to navigate. You know, I would like to see, I think the hardest thing about the navigation, honestly, is being able to read it, because I can turn on the light, and as soon as I hit another button, the light goes out. So let me just see if I can cycle through. Yeah, so you want the light on when trying to, like, navigate to the different settings, but the light turns off anytime you hit the function button. So I don't think that this watch is going to do, I think if you're going to, like, for me, I've said it many times, you know, I'll buy a watch just because I like the way it looks, and because, you know, I'm a lot of times I don't even set my watch, because a lot of them are automatics. So if you wear a watch more for an accessory, then, you know, I think that absolutely you're going to like this watch. That's how I wear watches. You know, I like the fact that it has the analog display. That's how I'm going to tell time on it, absolutely. But as far as, like, you know, all the other functions, I just don't think, it's just so hard to read. I find it being more annoying to try to, I won't even try to figure those out, to be honest with you. What else here? Has a high impact design for ultimate toughness. I do want to mention something about, this is what James pointed out to me. He pointed out that, and I don't know why they don't list it here. They have to list it here. They talk about the hand specifically. And so, 10-year battery life, that's pretty impressive. Where is the mention of the hands here? They have to mention this, I'm pretty sure. Why is it not on here? I swear I had this the other day, but... All right, so, well, I'm surprised they don't really talk about this much on their site. They just say shock-resistant module featuring shock release hands. I'm not going to dive too much into that because I was hoping to have it like here in front of me, and it doesn't actually. Let me just click this, see if it says anything. No, it doesn't. So my understanding is that the hands are actually floating on this with some sort of magnets, and the idea in that is if this thing takes a huge like jolt. Kind of a delicate portion of any analog watch is kind of the way the hands mount to the, I guess the, like the, what do you call it, the shaft, so to speak. And so this has some sort of magnetic hands that float and allows them to move and absorb shock and then come back to, I guess, what would be considered zero on the actual shaft. So very innovative. You can read more about that. But it is a very cool watch. Price on it here is looking at about $150, $155. You know, I think, you know, when I listen to what other, like, YouTubers have to say about it and putting, like, the design aside, it is super innovative. It is super tough. It is super cool. I love the bright orange, the bright yellow color. But I think they could have done better with the digital portion of this. It's surprising to me that on a watch like this, which to me, very bright, very utility-ish, you know, love the shock absorption capability. Again, love the color, love the look, love the design. But to actually not have a digital display that's very legible, I just kind of figured they would have put like classic Indiglo on this. If they just would have put Indiglo that stays on, and then you could have the bright white light. It is super cool, like to shine that, especially on this watch because it's so bright at night. You can't really make out the digital portion of this very well. And by not being able to make that out, it's frustrating to try to cycle through. You know, not that I use that at all. You know, I think when it comes to like a watch or, you know, any kind of digital watch with features like this, typically I only use like stopwatch and then an alarm. And I don't even use that anymore. But if I had to go through here and try to set the alarm and then turn it on or off, maybe you get used to this if this is your only watch, but this is not something that I'm going to wear all the time. So it's not something I'm going to like kind of get used in the habit of using. So I think that Casio kind of made a little bit of a blunder in not making this thing super legible. And I think they made a blunder in just not making it very, very easy to use the different functions. I honestly would have liked to have seen them just do a whole display, not have these eyes on it, which although is, innovative to look at, why bother? Why not make the display easy to read? A lot of the other Casios, like the Indiglo, and even the old school Casios, they're actually like LED backlit, I think they were, where you can see that the numbers are blue. They've always been known for the legibility. And so to me, this is just really outside the box for Casio. But without further ado, I do want to throw it on the wrist, show you guys what it looks like, because it is an awesome, awesome watch. Putting the negative things that I have to say about it aside, as far as if you're going to buy this, who's going to buy this, right? Here's my recommendation. You're going to buy this if you want something very bright, very 80s-ish, right? You can kind of go that way with it. Super loud. You like, again, big, you like the design, and you're mainly going to use this for the analog capabilities. I think having a very tough analog style watch with a 10-year battery life will appeal to a lot of people. This may not be the color you want, but honestly, if you weren't going to go with this color and you were just going to go with the black, I'd almost say, you have to really love the design of this to want to go with this model. Because otherwise, if you're like, I'm not 200% on the design, then you might as well just go with a standard G-Shock, one of the other hundreds of G-Shocks they make, and just get a standard one with much better legibility. But I think it is very cool. It is huge. I mean, check that out. I mean, for those Invicta haters out there, they're gonna cry like little bitches, throwing this on the wrist. Like they're like, it's too big. I mean, give me a break. But it is. I mean, super comfortable. I mean, I don't really get too involved in how, I don't really complain about how a watch feels on the wrist. To me, they're all pretty comfortable. But I get it, if you're going to wear like a, 70 millimeter Sea Hunter, yeah, you're just going to dig into the old in the bone. And when you're wearing it 8 hours, I get that. But this, you're going to get a huge watch. This doesn't really feel, it feels pretty lightweight. I think it's pretty cool overall. I'm pretty happy with it. Happy enough with it that, again, I want to get the hot pink version. But this is the main point I'm trying to make here. If it wasn't bright yellow and this is black, I would not be as excited about it, right? What really makes this, and they make other G-Shocks that are yellow, like more of like a traditional, like caution yellow. This is more of like road flagger, like road worker, bright neon green. It's not even really yellow. I think I called it yellow, but it's really, this is a neon green watch. And I think you have to really want this based on that fact. Because when you look at if you are trying to find a neon green watch, there are not a lot of options out there. So I think that this is, like, if I just go to, while I got you folks here, neon green watch, like, you can find some, but they're not like, here's a Nubeo actually. They do make a couple Nubeos, but they're like a combination of stainless and black. Here's a Molko. Here's like an off-brand on Temu. Like, you can find some, but I think as far as the ones that I'm just seeing here on a quick Google search, this one like really stands out as being a big neon green chunk on your wrist. And I think like I said, if that's what you're looking for, then this is pretty cool. I mean, you can see. I mean, just like it's super noticeable. Like, I dig it. I mean, I'm super appreciative James got me this. I think, when I think about collecting watches, and what intrigues me with watches is not a lot of times so much based on, the features of it or even the legibility, obviously. Really just the overall, like, I don't know, the uniqueness. And I think this is a super unique watch, and that's ultimately what really drew me into it. So, hope that helps. Thanks for watching, folks. Have a fantastic day. Links are in the description, and take care.